Welcome to the Think Generation Well podcast, and this is episode 94. And today, I am your host, Amir Estimo. Thank you very much for taking the time to listen to this episode, as I would like to open each podcast episode with appreciation and gratitude. So I'm thankful that you're able to take time to listen to this podcast. So if you enjoy this content, please share this podcast with whoever you think this would be of value to. We're trying to get this message out about financial literacy, so we got to be able to change the narrative, change how we do things when it comes to financial literacy and education. Okay, so let's go ahead and jump right into the podcast episode. And today's podcast episode is brought to you by Amirson Investments. Also, I would like to talk about today's episode is actually talking about identity theft and why it's important for you to have identity theft protection. Now, we hear horror stories about how someone built up this credit profile. So, within this credit profile, you built it up. When you first start with credit to get to a certain credit score, 800, 900. I don't think it goes to past 900. I don't even think it goes up to 900. I think it's 850 is like perfect score. But it takes a while because it has to take time to mature. And then to lenders, they have to be able to see that you are capable, mature enough to be able to handle this mortgage, whether it's a car note, whether it's a credit card. And it takes extremely long time to do this. I would say this, I remember turning 18, going to college, getting credit cards, ruining my credit. But then in 2013, it was actually a wake-up call for me that I had to take it serious to fix my credit. 2012. Let me get that correctly. And in 2012, I bought a car, put down like $6,500, and my interest rate was 10%. Now, probably if I didn't put down $6,000, then my probably interest rate would have been even higher. I could only imagine, because when I went and checked my credit score, I was like around a 530 or so. So from that point on, so from 2013 or even 12 to now, about 10 years, it's taken me a while to grow my credit score. Okay? And that's because, and listen, your credit score is going to take dips. It's going to go down. It's going to come back up. It's going to go down. And sometimes you even keep it level. And that's because life changes. There may be time where you're extending out your credit more, using credit more than you usually want to or can. And this is why you have people like Dave Ramsey to basically remind us, hey, this is why I don't suggest you getting credit cards. This is why I don't suggest having too many credit cards. Now, I did a podcast episode a while back ago regarding having multiple credit cards. Is that help you or hurt you? Okay, and I'll drop it in the show notes so you can listen to that episode. And one thing I say this is, it is now more imperative than before to have identity theft protection. You may be one of those people that say, well, I don't need that stuff. I don't worry about it. But in actuality, if you don't keep an eye on it or have some type of monitoring system to be able to monitor your credit, keep an eye on it, not obsess about it, but just being able to keep an eye on it at least maybe once every 2 weeks or once every week, depending how often you bank, meaning like maybe you pay bills. Some people pay bills every Fridays. I usually do that, right? I usually pay bills every Fridays. I used to worry about it every single day, but I really realized I started to get into a trap of, oh man, constantly worrying, man, we're behind on bills, behind on bills, behind on bills. When I started to go that route to where I didn't have to focus on that so much on a daily and I just started focusing on it weekly, I felt like my anxiety went down. So for me, that's the reason why I do it every Friday. To you, you may do it every day. You may do it monthly. You may do it every 2 weeks. You just don't want to neglect not keeping an eye on your credit. And what is identity theft? So identity theft in a nutshell is someone stealing your identity. Someone saying, for example, if your name is John David and you have someone then steals your identity, and when they steal your identity, now they're John David. I don't know if you guys ever watched a movie with I can't remember his name. He was the guy on Horrible Bosses, and he's done he did that. I remember, but I want to say it's Melissa McCarthy. She did a movie with the guy from Horrible Bosses. I can't remember. And he actually plays on Ozark too. I can't remember his name right now. And they had a movie where her character stole his identity. And what you have to realize, if you don't have identity theft, someone can just come in and take your identity, steal it, use your identity, open all these unnecessary credit cards under your name. And once they do that, guess what? You know how hard and difficult it is to get all that money back, to repair all the damage. It can take years and cost you thousands of money. So when someone let's say you don't bank with anybody, or your bank doesn't offer that type of service, there's plenty of credit card companies, or even there's credit monitoring companies that you can sign up for. Pay $15 a month. How much is that in a year? You're talking what, 15? You're talking what, $180? If I stand that correct, $180 a year. If you were to go $15 for 12 months. So $180 a year is going to save you thousands of dollars in the near future, in case something like that, God forbid, something like that happens. Okay? So now let's go ahead, let's dive into we're going to talk about how common is identity theft. So as far as back as 2020, the Federal Trade Commission, FTC, received 4.8 million identity theft and fraud reports, which was up 45% from 2019. If you remember, this is during the pandemic. People are home, they have more time, they're on the internet more, especially scammers, right? Consumers reported losing more than 3.3 billion related to identity theft and fraud. So it really is just a matter of where your information is. I remember because I bank with different companies, I got an alert, boom, my information was on the dark web. Because when you have these, especially now these days, you have these companies, T-Mobile most recently, I think Capital One, when these data breaches happen, these scammers or these people can just come in there. Your information is exposed. They can take your social security number. They know your passwords. Now they can just log in and do whatever they want if they want to ruin you. And it's sad to say that we live in a world where someone would do that, but that's the world we live in. And that's why stuff like credit card companies, when you have these credit monitoring services, they're around because they're around for a reason. So don't think of the $15 you may spend a month as a lost cause. This is an investment. It's there to protect you, right? Now, so you see that 3.3 billion related to identity theft and fraud. Okay. So here's are some tips on how you can protect your identity. Number one, maintain strong and unique updated passwords. It's recommended that you change your password every 60 to 90 days. I've been lazy about that sometimes myself, but I want to start getting in the habit of changing my password as often as possible. Now, if you bank with certain banks, they may even remind you and say, hey, this has been more than 2 months or 3 months or 4 months that you haven't changed. We recommend that you change your password. So you want to be able to have, you can't just have a password like 123 go. Anybody can figure that out, or 321 or something. Be unique and update your password as often as possible. Okay. And second tip is check your statements. Review your monthly statements. You can set up a notification with your bank. If you bank with Chase, you can set up a notification to where it sends you a daily, or anytime you get a charge over a certain amount. Some people may say, hey, if I get a charge over 5, 10, I want to know what it is online. So you want to make sure that you're doing this every single month. Check your statements, go through it, check your transactions. While you're paying bills, whatever, go into your account. I recommend doing it weekly, because the reason is anything can happen. If you wait a month, there's a lot can happen in a month, right? But if you go weekly, set some time, 30 minutes, just go through your transactions. Even if you have one transaction, check a look, because one could be two, especially when your information is exposed, right? So these data breaches happen all the time. You want to be able to make sure, again, we're talking about why to protect your identity, okay? This is, to me, tip number 3 is huge. I don't log into anything, anything in public. I don't use public Wi-Fi. I always have my Wi-Fi off. I don't log into any Wi-Fis. I don't try to do anything. I've gotten to having even tell my wife. I remember one time she was trying to log into it. I said, no, don't do that. Because you don't want to be able to log into it, especially it's not secured. And sometimes they'll tell you it's unprotected and unencrypted, right? Okay. So you want to make sure that you don't do that. Like, don't log into anything out in public, because now you're exposing yourself to hackers and fraudsters. App downloads. Be careful what you download into your phone. Most recently, there's a link came, and I was like, it looked like a link I'm familiar with. But then the key thing, what you want to know, here's a tip. If you see anything that says HTTP, I think it's HTTP. If it's not HTTPS, HTTP sometimes will tell you, okay, you type that in and it will say, you're leaving your website, you're going into an unsecured website, right? So you want to be able to make sure you be careful. You just don't click onto anything to also now you're exposing yourself to. And sometimes it could just be a link you click, then next thing you know, it has your phone number. So then next thing you know, you start to get all these spam messages because now they got you in their database. That's why you want to be very cognizant of what you download, whether it's your phone, your computer, laptop, your tablet, iPad, any of those devices. Don't go on and just click at anything, because now you're running the risk for exposure. Never reply to spam phone calls, emails, or text messages. The most recent one I've been getting myself is this company. I don't know. I understand people need to do a living, but be mindful of what you're doing. Be considerate. Like, does this, what you're doing, align with your goals? Keep that in mind, folks. What annoys me sometimes, like for me, I'll get these calls from this company from Amazon. Hey, we're about to charge your credit card for $390 or something like that. I remember, I don't know what it was. I had this, it was one of those messages. I got freaked out. And I call this company. They're like, hey, man, we can help you, but it's going to cost you $590. I'm like, $590 to do what? Like, to walk me a few steps to get some. No, I was like, that doesn't mean I can do that myself. So I started to pick up on, man, there's a lot of scam, like these things, like people are trying to find ways to scam you. So you want to be careful that you get these spam phone calls. Hey, you owe us $500 and we're going to charge your credit card. I've been getting those a few times. And you know, the thing is, I actually put my phone on do not call and they still find a way to call. Even now, text messages, you'll get this text message and the next thing you know, you click this link and boom, they got your information. And then, or even sometimes what they do is inside that link, they put viruses, and then the viruses then goes, once they have your information, you download that link, there's a virus that goes and steals your information. That's it. There you go. Sometimes you even get calls down from we're from the IRS. I remember one time there's this company say, yeah, we're from the Social Security Department. I'm like, Social Security doesn't call you. And this is exactly what I'm talking about, is that make sure whatever you do aligns with your goals. Don't go do something just because I need to earn a paycheck. So now you're going to sell yourself for money. And obviously we all need money to live, right? We need money because money will help you open up doors to place. It will get you in places that you probably wouldn't be able to get into before, right? But I just wish sometimes these people would think things through. When someone, offer you this job, think it through, like, is this job aligned with my goal? Because you calling someone to harass them or to claim that where you're trying to scam them, it's not right. And anyways, so be very mindful what you click, emails, your phone calls, because once the virus enters your computer or whatever device you're using, now it can just steal your information. That's all they need. Boom. There you go. So do not give out your information. So do not call. Do not, when these people call, you give out Social Security is a no-no. Do not give out any mother maiden name or anything to that thing. So be very mindful, very, very mindful. Shred junk mail and unnecessary documents. So for me, when I get these spam, I actually press delete and then I go and it goes to my trash. But I actually empty my trash. I don't keep my trash. I don't keep anything in my trash, because especially if it's scammers, if it's somebody just trying to find a way to steal your information, I don't let them live. I don't want to even, once it comes through, delete it. And the next thing you know, I go into my trash, empty out my trash. And now my emails, I try to do that at least once a month. So, because emails is harder to keep up with. But, excuse me, but for me it's like out of sight, out of mind. It's like it didn't even exist to me. Because if you go in there and say, let's say you go into your trash and look. So, man, okay, I don't remember this thing. Let me see what this is. Click, boom. And it's not like the link ever dies. It's actually, now you may have it when these scammers, what they do is they'll create a link, and sometimes the link is for a certain amount of time. So if you actually go and you click the link, it may say this link does not work anymore. So that'll give you an example. That could have been a scammer. That could have been, someone that was a fraudster, someone that was trying to steal information with you. Okay. So any documents you have, do not keep it, out of sight of mind, delete. Do not let your information hanging out. Social Security. I remember a couple of weeks ago, my wife was saying she was trying to apply for this job, and she's like, they're asking me for information about my social. Like, I need to have my Social Security on hand. And here I am thinking to myself, we don't carry around we don't carry our Social Security card, because they'll even tell you on your Social Security card to keep this in a very safe place, right? And be very mindful about that. So your social security should not be out and about. Your private information should not be out and about. And also, another tip is keep personal information private. So somebody calls, hey, survey takers, we want to know why you want to know my social security. When anybody asks me, unless it's like somebody like a bank or something asks me for social security, but anybody else, I'm very cognizant. I'm very, very cautious when somebody asks me, hey, can I have this information? Why do you need that information? I'm always asking why, because I don't know what you're going to do with my information. I work hard for this. So then last tip, keep an eye on your belongings. So if you're out in the public, for me, I'm a big component of using credit cards versus debit cards. The reason for that is because debit cards, you obviously, if you use it, sometimes it can take weeks. I've been in situations, I remember, I don't know, this was a while back ago, a long time ago. Someone stole like $200, like this is long. Someone stole like $200 out of my account. And I had to fight my bank. It took me literally almost a month to get $200 back. So for me is, one, when you use your credit cards, you get points, rewards, cash back, whatever that is and how much that is. And also two, with debit cards, you get nothing. So what you could do is, if you say, okay, you know what, in this week, I'm going to budget myself I'm going to spend $100. You make sure you have that $100 in your account and you discipline yourself. Now that's easier said than done, right? You may put in your minds, oh man, I got a credit card. I'm good. I can just worry about this later. And we do fall in that trap. I do it myself also. Trust me. But one thing you want to keep in mind is if you discipline yourself enough to say, okay, I'm going to spend $100. Once you go in there and review your statement, your transactions, end of the week, set yourself an automation to pay it. Or even set yourself set an automation to take this payment at this date. And okay, if you budget yourself, you discipline yourself, there's a lot to credit cards that people don't realize. Okay. So keep an eye on your belongings. Don't be out and about doing things you shouldn't be doing and leaving your purse, your wallet out and about, or even in locked vehicles. I remember one time a friend of mine, and he said, hey, Amir, and he was riding the car and I left my book bag. He said, why did you leave your book bag in your car? I said, well, I'm going to come back and get it. And it was actually out and exposed. So listen, man, you want to take your book bag, put it either in the trunk or you leave with it, because you don't want anybody to break into your car to steal your information. And I'm going to tell you, I didn't have my wallet or anything like that, but just somebody giving you advice like that is something you want to keep in mind, right? Now, also, this is how you can help your children too from identity theft. And you'll be surprised, identity theft is not even happening to kids, right? So how many times you hear kids, you'd be surprised. Maybe not a lot of us think that, but I've heard it before. I've been in situations where someone steals steals a child's information, and they go open up credit cards and all that underneath their name, right? So here's other things you can do. Monitor your usage of your child online. Make sure they're not clicking any type of links. Educate them, teach them. Hey, if something looks suspicious, don't open it. Okay? Also, you can even get credit reports in your child's name. So to make sure your bank, you probably can ask your bank, and sometimes your bank give it to you free. Or if you have it, because as long as you have a social, you can go look. You can go take a look at annualcreditreport.com or annualfreecreditreport.com, something to that nature. And you can actually be watching over their information. So you can even keep an eye on your kids' information. So, and if you can set up alerts, do so. Okay? So keep that in mind too. Now, what can you do? Right? What can you do? What you can do to protect against identity theft? So here's some things you can do proactively. So again, helping your accounts with strong passwords and security questions. Make sure you sign up for fraud alerts with your bank or even credit union. So if there's anything suspicious, American Express is really big at that. Discover is big at that also too. Even Chase. These companies want something, man, they'll shut it down quick. Use VPN encrypt in your data while you're online, okay? Which is called virtual password network. So keep that in mind. Use the VPN. And also apply for free. You can even apply for yearly free credit report, or also sign up for set up for credit monitoring services. Okay. Here's a difference now. Now there's reactive. So in case, let's say you got into a situation and now you're just, oh my gosh, I gotta react. Someone stole my identity. Well, the first thing you want to do is what? Freeze your accounts and credit cards. Some of these companies, you go in there, I know Discover does this. You go in there and just press freeze it. Boom. No one can use your credit card. American Express, I don't know, does that. I think Chase does that. A lot of these companies do that. Okay. Now, let's say you are a victim of identity theft. You want to report this to your bank or credit card immediately. Immediately. Don't wait a day or two, because once they have your information, it's all game from there on. Okay, now you get to file. You can file a identity theft report with the FTC, and then also you can claim theft with your insurance company. Okay, so you want to make sure these are 4 tips that you can do in case you were to get in that situation. So now, what you want to make sure you do too, and another reason why you want to get your credit report yearly, and you want to actually monitor your credit report. Because I had a credit report where I go look, they had an address I didn't never live there. That's someone that's probably was trying to use your information, right? So you want to be able to make sure you keep an eye on your credit report and to monitor it, because you want to make sure it's accurate. And if it's not, you can contest that. You can send out letters to the 3 bureaus, which is TransUnion, Experian, and Equifax. Any of those 3s, you can send them out and say, hey, I have this information, and dispute it. You can dispute this information, okay? Now, I hope this helps today. I think this was a well-needed podcast, because even for me, this was something I feel like I needed to do myself, and just to make sure that I'm keeping an eye on my credit, because especially now these days, folks, it's ugly out there. People are just getting off pandemic. Some people are laid off of work. Some people are hungry, and they're going to figure out ways to make sure you feel what they're going through. And sometimes it is to hurt you. So you want to make sure this is very imperative. I thought this was a very important episode to be able to get people to understand that credit monitoring, credit service, whatever, there's plenty of them out there. I have one I use. I use IdentityQ, and I have IdentityQ. Then I have my banks, and those are free. So sometimes you may, if you don't want to, you don't have to spend. But there's sometimes more information that you can get with these companies that maybe your bank doesn't offer. So you never know. Okay. So I hope this helps. And I appreciate you taking the time to listen to this podcast episode. And as for today, we're going to leave you with a quote. And the quote is going to be yourself. Everyone else is already taken. Oscar Wilde. Thank you. And I appreciate you taking the time. Until next week, much love. Peace out.